evening, everyone. Good evening. Tuned in to Policy Matters on IntellectualRadio.com. I am your host, Jerry Brown, and thanks for tuning in. Uh, Tonight, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to have a somewhat of a political roundtable, and we're inviting you all that's listening to join in. Our call-in number is area 708-223-8953, 708-223-8953. Before we actually get started, there's a couple of things I want to get out here. You all are familiar with Mr. Mark Wallace, that wonderful gentleman who did that yeoman's job in fighting the red light cameras here in Chicago and got us, a great victory here. He's asked us all to call Alderman Kerry Austin's office at area code 773-928-6961. They're proposing to put another red light camera at 98th Place and Halsted. We need to let her know that that is not something that we want. The community input, and now is one of the things that came about with that court decision he won, is that the community does have say-so on these things. So make sure you give a call to Alderman Kerry Austin, that is the 34th Ward. Let her know that we do not want this red light camera there. Not only just people who live in the 34th Ward, but anybody that travels up and down Halsted Avenue. Call her, let her know that another camera is not needed. If you travel down Halsted from the expressway, which is at 98th Place, all the way to 127th Street, every major intersection has a red light camera. Every major intersection on Halsted from 98th Place to 127th Street has a red light camera. That's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. So we don't need her to add another one. So make sure you give her a call. Call her tomorrow. Call her every day. Area code 773-928-6961. Kind of a lead-in to what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm proud to say that today is the second anniversary of the 8th Ward Accountability Coalition's victory in stopping the opening of a medical marijuana dispensary out in the 8th Ward. It was November 20th, 2015 that we got a decision from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Actually, what it is we actually forced the potential operator to withdraw his application based on the involvement of our organization and the involvement of the residents there. And we beat back a multi-million-dollar corporation, one of the most powerful aldermen in the city of Chicago. We did not spend one penny. We did not have the use of an alderman. We had no experts in zoning and planning. All we did is got together as concerned citizens, as taxpayers, and said this was something we didn't want. We followed the proper channels, played within the guidelines set forth by the Zoning Board of Appeals, and we achieved what it was that we wanted. Now, I say this is a lead-in. That was a monumental victory, people. That was monumental. This is something that both the operator of the marijuana dispensary, as well as the alderman out there in that ward, Alderman Michelle Harris, this is something that they tried to slip past us. It was basically, as she told myself and a couple of others, that it was a done deal. And we let her know that these people that we put in these elective offices, these people are employees and they are to do what we say. It's not the other way around. And we have to start acting as such, and this was the monumental victory in that this is exactly what the citizenry did. We told her what we wanted and we forced her. And she even admitted to us after the process began that it would have been political suicide for her to continue supporting the opening of that thing. Now, what we're talking about tonight is basically the same kind of thing. We're going to talk about the political climate here in Chicago, Cook County, and in the state of Illinois. We like to, how can I put it? We'd like to use what we did there in the 8th Ward as an example of what really needs to take place all around this city. We don't need a lot of money to win political races. We don't need the use of experts and consultants. All we need to do is have the proper message, and the proper message is whatever it is that the citizenry wants. That's the proper message. We don't need experts in any particular field to come in and tell us this is what we want. Citizens buy homes in an area and they want that area to reflect what it is that they want. We don't need somebody coming in and tell us, well, this is what this community needs and this is what that community needs. It's we are allergic to independence. We're allergic to independence in that we will not say this is what we want. We wait and let someone else tell us what it is that we need. This has to stop. So I think with all of uh, the budget problems that the state of Illinois has had since we've had this governor in office, I think with all the tax increases that we've had from both City Hall as well as the General Assembly down in Springfield, I think it has created in the minds and the hearts of both the taxpayers and the citizens, which should be the same, quite frankly. You're paying taxes. If you're a citizen, you should be paying taxes, and if you're paying taxes, you should be voting. I think what it is created an attitude that there needs to be a complete and total turning of the political soil in this town. We see so many people that are just totally disgusted with government. We see so many incumbents who are actually hiding during this is what they call an election cycle right now. Back in, I think it was in September, they opened up the doors so people can begin circulating petitions so they can get on the ballot and run in this upcoming primary in March. But you don't see a lot of incumbents out here doing things. I'm real proud to say that we have some upstarts, some people who have no political background whatsoever, who have decided to step up and put their hats in the political ring. And I'm real proud to say that they're doing an excellent job. Excellent job. Okay, we have a call on the line, and we're gonna see what it is. Hello, caller. How are you? Identify yourself.
Yes. Hey, hi Jerry. How you doing? This is Helen.
Hey, Helen. How you doing?
I'm good. Let me apologize that I couldn't make it, into the studio today.
Okay.
So I'm
okay.
still.
Well, that's quite all right. That's all right. It's funny that you called in first here because I was just talking about what you guys are doing over there in the 31st district with Willie Preston. I was talking about how people who have had no political background whatsoever had decided to step up, and it's time for a change. Kind of tell us something about what you guys are doing over there and how it's working out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we've been doing a series of petition blitz, just going from door to door out in the community, talking to the community. We have an awesome boots on the ground team. We are grassroots. We come from the grassroots organizations. That's who we are.
Okay.
We are some activists. We get up and we fight City Hall. We fight on this political battle every day, city, county, and state political.
Okay. You know what? Now, Willie is going up against a person who has been sitting in that seat for 30 years. So that in and of itself says that the residents there in that district have been pretty comfortable with his opponent. Now that he's coming along, he's making a big stir over there. He's definitely making himself well known. That's for sure. People around this town are really knowing who Willie Preston is now. What seems to be the climate over there? What kind of comments are you guys getting from the residents that you're approaching over there?
I say that the climate is at a place where there is need for change. Yesterday we were out petitioning in a area, and it's a really nice middle class area. The citizens in that area, State Rep Mary Flowers, but guess what? They still signed our petition.
Mm-hmm.
They believe that competition is healthy. They also believe that after 30 years, even if they didn't have a problem with State Rep Mary Flowers, that it's time for a change and it's time for a new breed of leadership. There was a gentleman that we met. He was outside his home, tending to his yard. And, the video is on my page. You can go and see it. He's middle class, taxpayer, has his home, but his concern is for other areas outside his community. Inglewood, Roseland, South Shore, Lawndale. his concern was for other communities. You can walk down his block. It's a beautiful block. Tree lined, lawns are immaculate. And he also said some of his neighbors' concerns is what happens or the lack of what is happening in other communities, in which one of those communities is Inglewood, and that's the community that I live in.
Okay. You know, you hit something that I was going to ask about. You said this man was in the community where you guys were, blitzing with the petitions, and he talked about his concern of other communities. Now, are you guys getting support for Willie Preston from other communities, and do you anticipate seeing what you guys are doing taking place in other communities because of what you're doing?
Of course, yes. We have a participation from people in West Side, far South Side of Illinois. I mean, of the city of Chicago that have came and volunteered. Some, we may start our blitz on Saturdays from 10 to 3, 10 to 5. Yesterday, they went from 11 to 7, and so we've been getting, people have been reaching out to the campaign. They are willing to come and help financially and physically with the manpower. Okay. And so we're real grateful for that.
So in other words, what you're saying is that unlike before, and unlike, say, over the last 30 years, people are actually coming out and getting involved in the political process other than just voting.
Yes, they are. Okay. Yes, and I think this is a grassroots campaign. Okay. It's a grassroots campaign. Okay. We are a group of citizens and that live in the other Chicago, and so. When you say the other Chicago, what do you mean? When I say the other Chicago, there's two Chicago. Okay. We know that there's two Chicago, and so there's the north side of Chicago and there's the west and the south side of Chicago. That's the other Chicago. Okay, real good. And actually, one of the people I had invited is on his way. He's a little tied up. He's actually coming from the north side of Chicago, so we're going to get some take on how he feels about. The other Chicago from a north sider's view too. So so Willie is an upstart. He's in the Democratic primary? Am I correct? Yes. Okay. Yes, is his goal, or is the goal of your community? I've always said this, Helen. I said, it's been at least 75 years since there's been a Republican in power here in Cook County or the city of Chicago. So all of the ills we find ourselves looking at or having to deal with in government have been created by Democrats. Okay. Now, him running in the Democratic primary, is that something that is being well taken, well accepted by the community over there in the 31st District? Yeah, it is. The community, and especially the community that we're from, we understand that there are two Democrats. There's the Democrat machine and there's the Democrat Party. Okay. And for whatever reason, it's the Democratic machine that runs this city, not the Democratic Party. When you say that, you remind me of Paul McKinney. You know Paul, right? Yes. And when he was running for Congress a couple of years, boy, he really emphasized how the machine was the problem. And you're almost to the point. It was funny, but not funny, ha. It was funny, sad. That how he emphasized it, but the way he would say it, when you said the machine, you reminded me so much of Paul. Okay, there's another candidate that's actually running for state rep over there that is an upstart too, right? Yes, Nicole Bond. Okay. Nicole Bond is running in the 6th district. In the 6th district, and she is running against the sitting state rep Sonia Harper. Okay. This is her. Unlike Mary Flowers been in that seat for 30 years. Right. Sonia Harper in the 6th district. This would be her second This would be her second term
in
office. If she wins this election, this would be her second term in office.
She basically is, you know, and I don't know, for lack of a better way to describe her, kind of nondescript, because all she did was she came into the office and fell right in the line.
Yeah.
Fell right in line. Sat over in the corner, is quiet, and it's time to vote yes. That's where she was. The vote yes has absolutely done nothing in the community, has done, you know, no kind of initiatives stemming from the office of Sonia Harper. I've looked into it, and you know, and that's pretty sad for somebody to have come into office that late, with times being like it was at the time when she came in, and have absolutely nothing to show for it other than a yes vote. You know, that's pretty sad.
And that's what we don't need. That is what we with Willie Preston's campaign. That is the very thing that we're fighting. Complacency.
Yeah.
And so these people have gotten very complacent, and the machine, not the Democratic Party, the Democratic machine puts their arms around them and protects them as long as they stay complacent in their own neighborhood.
Now, let me ask you this, and I really want to kind of stay on this topic of the political climate. How much do you think the governor's race is going to have? How much bearing do you think the governor's race is going to have on what's taking place over there in the 6th and the 31st district?
I don't. You know, I don't. We really haven't thought that far. We really haven't. We haven't thought that far. We have our dear brother, T.O. Hardeman, running in the governor's race. He is for the people, and he is from the people.
Right.
Jerry,
he's scheduled to be here in December.
This is, you know, we've been so focused on this race in the 31st. We want to win this race. And so I'm going to say this. We're putting all our resources and our manpower behind this race. So we're trying to send a message loud and clear, a message to, in this political climate, and to the people that live here, to Black people in Chicago. And that is that there's no more sleeping at the wheels. No more voting just because a person's name looks familiar. No more of that. So this is why we're focused on this race. All resources, manpower is going toward this race. It may be small to some, but when we win this seat, it will send word loud and clear to City Hall, to the county, and to the state house, the state building in Springfield. And we're coming for you.
I got one more question.
It can't be done.
All right, I got one more question for you, and I'm going to let you go because I want to kind of go in a different direction here. Do you think that voters today are too partisan? In other words, are we too loyal to a particular party? Do you think there's a need for another party? That's basically what I'm asking.
You know, I used to. I did. I used to think that. I think that we have to, and I've made a video on this. On this, we have to get our people to start taking another look at what is going on with the politics here, what is going on in this political climate, and what is going on with the people that we keep voting in office. May that be Republican, Green Party, Independent, Democrat. Now, I think it would be really hard to ask Black people to leave the one party and party. Black people get too comfortable, and they're too loyal.
Okay. Well, Helen, I want to thank you for calling in. We got an idea of what it is that you think and what's going on over in that district, and we'll be in touch. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jerry. Have a good evening. Bye.
All right. All right, and we appreciate that. Was Helen Thomas from Outlet. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, how are you? This is Policy Matters on IntellectualRadio.com. How are you? Who are you, caller?
This is Keith Harris.
Mr. Harris, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Is this the illustrious Mr. Jerry Brown?
I don't know about all of that. This is Jerry Brown. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We appreciate you calling in. We were just talking with Helen Thomas, and she was kind of going over some things about what's taking place there in the 31st district and over in the 6th district. And I'm really glad that you're calling in because maybe you can, we hear a lot about, we know that you're very, very active in Inglewood. There's a lot of things that's going on in Inglewood. There's a lot of things that people are misinformed about Inglewood. And so Keith Harris is going to straighten us out. So I want you to take about 5 minutes or so, Keith, kind of tell us about the political climate that's going on over there in Inglewood. Kind of give us an idea of what it is that it seems to be City Hall has planned for Inglewood and how the residents are responding to it.
Okay, well, where do I start? Let's start first with what City Hall has planned. City Hall has a few development plans, and one specifically this new school. They have plans on what they want to do and how they want to do it. The community has some other plans, and so we're kind of clashing on it. They're moving ahead on what they want to do in some regards, but in some other regards, they're going to have to come across the people in the community, and that's where they're going to run into some issues and some problems. They haven't been sincere. They haven't been truthful in any of the procedures or the proposals. So that's where the rubber gonna meet the road. Is typical of what the city usually do, not just in Inglewood, but throughout the Black community. They come up with initiatives and plans, and then they basically just tell everybody what they're gonna do, and everybody just goes along with it. And that hasn't been the case in Inglewood for a while. There are a few of us that fight, and we fight for the benefit of the community, not for the benefit of ourselves, our organization, or to be in the spotlight. It's all for the benefit of the community. So we're back and forth on that struggle.
Keith, let me stop you for a minute.
We have no problem with them building the new school. The problem we have is with them closing the other 4 schools without putting the necessary resources in them to make them successful.
Keith, let me stop you for a minute, Keith.
That's one issue.
Okay, let me stop you there for a minute. Okay, for the benefit of those who may not understand what you mean by the new school, kind of tell us what's going on with that, what the plan is, the new school, what schools are they planning to close? Is this a high school, grammar school? What kind of give us some real, the basic details about what that is.
Okay, they want to build a new school and a new high school.
Okay.
And they want to close the 4 neighborhood high schools in Inglewood, Harper, Robeson, the old Inglewood, which is now Team Inglewood, and Hope, John Hope High School on the northern part of Inglewood. Hope and Inglewood, or Team Inglewood, coexist with KIPP Charter School, and Team Inglewood coexists with Urban Prep Inglewood. So they're not really closing the building, they're just phasing those schools. They want to phase those schools out. As far as Harper and Robeson goes, they want to close them, and their reason for closing them is they say they're under-enrolled and underutilized. And they blame the under-enrollment on the population, and that's not true. The population is here. The kids are just going somewhere else. Most of them are going outside of the community, and they kind of trick the parents into thinking that putting your kids in the charter school is the best option for them. So the charter schools inside Inglewood and outside Inglewood don't have an enrollment problem, and the rest of the kids are going to schools basically that are sports giants like Simeon, Phillips, so on and so forth. And that's it. They like to tout Lindblom as a Inglewood school, but the truth of the matter is Lindblom is more of a selective enrollment school, and I'm not exactly sure the percentage of Inglewood students that go there, but I'm pretty sure it's less than 20%, and I'm being generous with that 20% number.
Okay, you know what? And I was thinking as you were mentioning the schools, I got two questions about that, and I thought about Inglewood. I mean, Lindblom. I said that's in Inglewood, and how come that wasn't included in these schools that they wanted to close and combine into this new school? Okay. And my second question, and I want you to answer both. Now, clarify for me. Now, you mentioned two schools. Did you say that they were charter schools that are going to be combined into this new school, or they're not charter schools?
No. What I said was, you got two schools that they want to put on the chopping block. John Hope, which shares a building with Kip Charter School, and Team Inglewood, which shares a building with Urban Prep Inglewood.
Okay.
So now to answer the question about Lindblom. Lindblom is located in Inglewood, and I'm gonna tell on myself now, Jerry.
Okay.
I'm 51 years old. I graduated from grammar school in '79. I tried to go to well, Lindblom was on one of the list of schools that I wanted to go to. One, because it was a decent school. The other, it was close to home. So I tested for it, being born and raised in Inglewood, and I didn't get accepted there. But the crazy thing is I got accepted at St. Ignatius, Whitney Young.
Wow.
And all the Catholic schools I got accepted at. I got accepted at Whitney Young, which was the only other, from my understanding, magnet school or selective enrollment school at that time.
Wow. But you couldn't get into Lindblom. I
was good enough to get into Ignatius or Whitney Young, but I couldn't go to Lindblom. And that was crazy to me. But still in all, even back then, it was never an Inglewood neighborhood school. It was a school in Inglewood.
Okay, I got you. Big difference. Big difference.
Right.
Well, kind of shifting to politics over in Inglewood. I know that a portion of the district that Willie Preston is running in is in Inglewood. Now, the entire sixth district that Ms. Vaughn is running in, that's all in Inglewood, isn't that right?
Well, the majority of it is Inglewood is split up in a couple of different districts. You got the one that Willie is running into that takes in the southernmost portion of Inglewood.
Okay.
Then you got a district that Andre Papetti is running in, and I hope somebody is running against him. But you got that district, and then you got the 6th district, which takes in the northern part of Inglewood from about maybe Marquette Road, zigzagging around the 64th Street, 71st Street, or 69th Street on down to 55th Street.
You know, you leading into exactly what I was getting to. You know, Inglewood has been chopped up, not just with the General Assembly districts, but also with the City of Chicago wards. I think there are about 5 different aldermen that have portions. Okay, and then you've got about 3 or 4 different General Assembly districts there. I think there are 3 different state senators that have a portion of Inglewood. That's something that's new. That was all put together as they began to come in and do, I call it carpetbagging in Inglewood. You know, that's something that's new. And they kind of did it on, well, you know, most political moves here in this town are on the slide, but those things were done, and you really didn't see the effect of it until the gentrification started to take place. And it's still that, and it's really a gentrification steamroller. You know, it's really moving a lot faster than what city planners had originally planned. And how should I say this? How are the residents responding to this as far as their political involvement?
Okay, so let me try to answer the gentrification aspect of Inglewood first.
Okay.
Because the attempts are being made, but there's a little misconception, and I want to try to clear that up. The majority of the property in Inglewood, unlike Bronzeville, unlike the Cabrini Green area, and a lot like Roseland, are homes.
Single family homes.
Single family homes or 2-flat dwellings that families had owned for years, and it passed down to generation to generation. So it's not as easy It's not as easy when people say, oh, they're going to do Inglewood like they did Bronzeville or like they did Cabrini Green. It's not as simple to do that when you got homeowners.
Okay.
And when you got a large land or home, it's different from taking maybe a couple of blocks and doing something instead of taking an entire community. Inglewood is a big community, and I don't like, me being a resident born and raised here, I don't like to split Inglewood up into a West Inglewood and East Inglewood. As far as I'm concerned, there is no East Inglewood and West Inglewood. It's Inglewood. If you live anywhere between the boundaries, you live in Inglewood.
That's one of those.
We talking 20 blocks east and west.
Yeah, that's one of those mental divide and conquer things. Well, I'm in East Inglewood, and I'm in West, when the fact of the matter is, it's all Inglewood. You know, as if one side is better than the other, or one side is doing something other than the other. Yeah, that's you know, yeah, that's crazy.
So
but go ahead.
The area, the area in one specific area that's notable is the northeastern part of Inglewood, from 55th to maybe 59th Street, right off the Dan Ryan, or a little bit west of the west of the Dan Ryan, over to Normal. Norfolk Southern took a lot of land over there, and they were able to do that because most of the population in that area lived in what was CHA housing over there. And there were a few homeowners, but most of it was the CHA housing and a few vacant buildings, vacant houses. I mean, few houses and here and there in between vacant property. So when they tore down the CHA housing over there, that left maybe 15 to 20 homeowners in the entire area. And they were able to come in and offer some money to some, and then others waited it out. And then as we speak now, there are about 2 or 3 other people over there that just haven't moved yet. And they refusing to move. And I don't know what the outcome of that is. It's hard it's almost legally, from my understanding, legally impossible for a private entity to take eminent domain. The city can, but they can't do it for they can't do it for a private entity. And if they got the right lawyers, they can fight it. But that's what happened in that area. So to speak about gentrification in the aspect of what happened in Cabrini Green and what happened on the low end, what they call Bronzeville, it's hard to do that because most of the property over here is owned by the people that live here.
Wow. You know, you know what, that's such a shame. You know, I think about that, and the exact same thing is beginning to happen in Roseland and West Pullman. So you know what, I'm going to I appreciate you calling in. And what we got to do, we got to get you in the studio, Keith. We got to get you in here so you can talk about this more. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to get you, Helen. And there are a couple of people from the Roseland and West Pullman area, which is experiencing the same thing that Inglewood is experiencing. I'll get you all in there and we can all talk about this. And then maybe we can kind of see that this plan, all of these things, all of this, quote, gentrification and all this relocation and dislocation of people is something that's, a concerted effort. It's a concerted effort to move people to do, and maybe we can come to some kind of conclusion as to where it came from and what to do about it. Thanks so much for calling, Keith, and I'll be in touch.
All right, gotcha.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to have my guest, Mr. Carl Nyberg, sit down and chat with us. All right, we'll be right back. On Policy Matters on IntellectualRadio.com. Again, I'm Jerry Brown, your host, and we're joined now with Mr. Carl Nyberg. Well, thanks for coming.
It's a good day.
Okay, good day, huh?
I was out gathering signatures from some great candidates out in LaGrange Park and Westchester.
Okay, real good, real good. Well, Carl, kind of tell us something about who you are and what you're about.
Okay. So back in the day, I was in the Navy, and I got out of the Navy, and I decided I want to get involved in stuff. And the place that I've found that works for me is an organization called Northside Democracy for America.
Okay.
And we meet once a month, and it's on the second Wednesday of the month at Chief O'Neill's, and we bring in mostly people who are running for office to apply for the organization's endorsement. The organization has a mission to elect socially progressive, fiscally responsible, and ethically committed Democrats to all levels of government.
Okay.
And so what we do is we bring people into the meetings and encourage people to volunteer for endorsed candidates. So that's been going on since 2005, and it's a real nice balance of being active in the political process, but also it's not so professionalized that it's taken over by the money and the political hacks and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to wonder. I say that sounds kind of in depth and stuff, but
anybody can do it. I mean, you don't have to commit to anything other than to just come to a meeting. And the meeting's free. Okay. You know, the restaurant, you know, they'll bill you for any food or drink you order. Okay. But I mean, it's an opportunity to meet people who are progressive and engaged in politics, and there's enough elected officials and stuff that are either members or respect what we do, and so there's almost always somebody there who's a committeeman or a state rep or an alderman or something like that. And a number of our people have gone on to, I mean, a lot of them have run and not gotten elected, but some of them got elected too.
Okay. So this is basically a North Side organization, right?
Yeah, like I was active when I was living on the South Side, and Teresa Ma, who was elected state representative, she was on our steering committee. She lived on the South Side. Other members lived on the South Side. We got some people out in the western suburbs, like in DuPage County, but people from just, if you can get to Chief O'Neill's, you can be a member.
Okay, real good, real good. All right, well, let's so this isn't just an organization that's popped up and active during the election cycles. It's just constant and going on, correct?
Right. That we've had. So Democracy for America grew out of the Howard Dean campaign in 2004, okay. And it's a national organization. We're a local chapter, and Northside DFA has been holding monthly meetings every month since 2005, which was tricky one month because our meeting venue, a restaurant called the Lincoln Restaurant, closed on short notice, and we had to scramble around and find a place. But we met at Nookie's for a month, and that was a little too small for us. Okay. And there's Nookie's Edgewater, and we ended up at Chief O'Neill's, 3471 North Elston. It's a great venue for doing a whole bunch of stuff. That they've got a segregated off area. They got a nice stage, they have a sound system. It's really it's just a pretty ideal place for an organization to meet.
Okay, well, stretching out into other areas other than the North Side, constantly in constantly in action. So you would pretty much have a good idea of what the political climate is around this time. Kind of share what you think it is.
Well, we're in a season where a period of time where there's a lot of swinging of, you know, the Democrats did really well in 2006 and 2008, and then they got their sort of clocks cleaned, and now it looks like the Republicans are looking to get their clocks clean in 2018. I mean, Bruce Rauner and Donald Trump ain't doing them no favors. Right. But it's not like people have all of a sudden got their hearts aflutter over the Democrats again, because people remember that the Democrats, they didn't deliver on stuff like that, you know, that there's no sense of accountability for the Iraq War being a complete mess. There was no sense of, I mean, that was based on either inaccurate information or outright lies, and nobody was held accountable. Like the financial crisis was 9/11 attacks. Nobody's held accountable. We've gotten in this pattern where things go badly and then nobody's held accountable. And the Democrats aren't really trying to break that cycle. They're just trying to take advantage of the frustration with the Republicans.
You think that'll work? You know, right
well,
now,
define working. It won't work for regular people. It'll work for some Democratic politicians. It'll get them elected. But I mean, there's a big difference between what works for Dick Durbin and what works for me.
Big difference. You know, and I say this all the time, and sometimes people get sick of hearing it. I say I'm for a complete turning of the political soil right now, because I see so much grit and grime with the current power structure, the current status quo, that even those who aren't actively guilty of what's wrong are complicit because they're silent. So,
yeah, you're hitting on a real important idea here. That yes, local elected officials are being handed a really try not to use profanity, but a bad deal from the national level, and that they're being asked to pick up more and more of the cost of local government. More problems are being pushed down on local government without resources to deal with it. And I mean, there's a lot of people in local government that ain't that bright, but there's some people that are smart enough, and they ain't calling the game out for what it is, right. And they ain't fighting back, and they ain't organizing people and they're not telling the truth. And it's just like, well, if you're not, I mean, like the Democratic Party gets in this thing where they're like, oh my God, that's a good idea. I sure hope somebody will push for that. And it's like, come on. I mean, like, you're the one drawing a paycheck, you know. I mean, you go out there and talk about it too. I mean, like the graduated income tax. I remember the state rep from the North Side came into Northside DFA and said, "Oh, graduated income tax. That's a good idea. Somebody should push for that." And I'm like, well, what are you getting paid for?
What do you do when you go back to the General Assembly? You just sit there and wait till you say it's time to say yeah.
Right. I mean, the Democratic Party likes to tell people left of the status quo that, like, well, if you build up enough support for your idea, I'll be there to vote for it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, if you build up enough support, then eventually the Republicans vote for it.
Yeah, really. You know, you mentioned something here about how the national Democrats are putting more of the burden of the cost of local government.
Well, it's the national government. It's Congress. It's a bipartisan thing. So it's not just a Democrat. But, I mean, John Kennedy and Lyndon Baines Johnson need to get their appropriate amount of credit for shifting back when John Kennedy was elected president in 1960, the top tax rate for rich people was 90% of your income above a certain level. So you made good money. And then above that level, 90% of that went into the federal government. And then, you know, Kennedy said that wasn't a good idea. And, you know, John Kennedy occasionally said things he didn't mean.
Occasionally.
You know, I mean, after the guy got shot, everything he said became like the word of God, and all of a sudden people were passing bills on it. And I mean, there were good things that got passed too, but cutting the top tax rate on the rich, I mean, I think started us down a path where, I mean, every door I knocked on today where I got to talking about issues, people were saying my taxes are too high. Well, I mean, I think that the proper way to think about it is probably that your income hasn't kept up with where it should be. Okay. That's one part of the equation. But yeah, people's taxes are too high on some level, and we should have them swing back where the tax burden's picked up by these people that are phenomenally wealthy. I mean, we got so many billionaires running around. We're going to have a Democratic billionaire and a Republican billionaire running for governor of Illinois, and like, you know, that's
you know what? That brings me to my next question. How important is this governor's race? In the grand scheme of things, how important is this governor's race?
Well, I think if Bruce Rauner's reelected, that organized labor is going to be on the way out in Illinois. And if organized labor is on the way out in Illinois, I think it's on the way out nationally. I mean, the organized labor is in a very weak situation after losing ground in Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And So Bruce Rauner being reelected would be catastrophic for the rights of working people, and not organized labor is something that helps people that aren't necessarily in a labor union at this point, because once you take organized labor out of the picture, everybody's wages are going to fall. And that's, I mean, you think your income to tax ratio is bad now, wait till organized labor's out of the picture. So Bruce Rauner being reelected would be catastrophic. I'm a fan of Senator Daniel Biss, and I think that if he were to pass his full agenda, that some significant problems in Illinois would be mitigated or fixed. I mean, I think Bob Dibur has ideas that are, I mean, if he got everything he wanted, problems would be mitigated and fixed too. But there's a big step between electing somebody governor and getting their agenda passed. And the Democratic Party, when it comes to serving the interests of regular people, their inclination is to do as much for their donors as they can get away with, and to do as little for the regular people as they can get away with. So we're always caught in this cycle where government's so in debt that we need to be raising taxes and cutting services, and we never get out of the hole that allows us to do something innovative that takes care of regular people. So people, I mean, if your only interaction with government is getting pulled over by a crooked cop and getting, you know, having to file paperwork that is pointless for your business, I mean, you think government's a waste of time. And we need a competing vision where government's actually doing something for the people. I mean, am I talking too much?
No, you're not. No. Because you're bringing some questions in my mind. You know, you said if Rauner were to get reelected, organized labor would basically begin to falter away. So I guess you're saying that there are going to be some concessions on the part of Madigan and his cohorts if he is reelected. Is that basically what you're saying? Or can that happen?
I mean, like Rauner has shown that he's willing to destroy anything to get his way on these labor concessions. And eventually the Republicans got so nervous they forced him to cave. But if he were to be reelected, my assumption is that a number of Republicans would be elected with him. And the Republicans that are retiring from the General Assembly are probably the ones that were the most willing to stand up to him on these issues, and the ones that are coming in are the most ideologically kindred spirits. And so, I mean, I think we'd go back to the same situation we were in for 2 years. If Rauner would say, "I'm not passing a budget until you give me my way on labor issues," and I don't know. I mean, the Democrats might hold ranks again, but I mean that implies that we're willing to inflict a huge amount of suffering on the mentally ill, a huge amount of suffering on people who rely on Medicare for healthcare services. That means a huge amount of suffering imposed on old people living in nursing homes. And right. I mean, like, oh man, he did this thing where he decided to save money by he said, if you're going to school, you're not eligible to get the money for your child care.
Right.
I mean, like, what a wow. I mean, like,
right. It's not like school is taking up time like a job would.
But like I mean, this whole Republican conservative stuff I mean, first of all, whatever conservatives say, it's almost always sort of mostly a lie. What they really want is they want government to help people who are powerful and to hurt people who are vulnerable. They want to sort of stretch out. They want to they want to make society as unequal as possible. The difference in the conservative movements, and some of them thinks that feudalism was really a great idea, and the other ones think that slavery was a really great idea. Yeah. But I mean, usually they pay some lip service to the idea that we're supposed to be like improving ourselves, fitting in with the system, and moving up the ladder, even if they make it really hard to move up the ladder. But I mean, taking away child care from some young person who's got a child and wants to go to school. I mean, that's a level of sort of meanness that it's hard for me.
It's evil.
Right. Evil. It's hard to wrap my mind around.
It's bottom line. It's just evil, you know. A couple of things real quick, because we got just a few more minutes.
Sorry.
No problem. This is why I asked you to come. So, you know, one thing we see here in this upcoming primary, we see the Democratic Party, the state Democratic Party, using the election apparatus to fill the slots that they have on their team. Okay, now I know your wife is running.
Yeah, Melissa Lindbergh's running for the State Central Committee, and State Central Committee, that there's a committee man and a committee woman elected in all the congressional districts. And so there's 18 congressional districts, and those 36 people are the board of directors for the Democratic Party. And currently they elect Michael Madigan chair of the party, and they pretty much let Madigan and his people run everything. And they don't, and what Melissa wants to do is she's questioning the idea of whether Mike Madigan should be the chair of the party, but also wants to claw back some of that power. So the party's actually more accountable to people. There's be like a platform and a sense that we're working for the whole spectrum of Democrats, not just the Democrats running for the Illinois House. Because I mean, Madigan's Speaker of the House, so that's where he focuses.
Right. You know, what I found funny is that the Republican Party doesn't do this. And I said, that I think that speaks a lot to this mad power that Madigan has in this state. You know?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in how the Republicans run their stuff, and whatever, they're Republicans. They can have that. But one of the things that's interesting is the Democratic Party does not work the same throughout Illinois. That in Cook County, the voters elect a township committeeman if you're in the suburbs, or a ward committeeman if you're in the city. But in other parts of the state, you elect a precinct committeeman, and then the precinct committeemen get together and elect a township committeeman and a county board chair. And so that's pretty different. So, like we're in Broadview right here. You don't have to go more than like 3-4 miles west of here, and you're in DuPage County, and they got a completely different system of organizing the Democratic Party. It's interesting.
It is really interesting, and it just amazes me how this political party, which is basically a private organization.
It's a weird sort of. Yeah. In some ways, it's public. In some ways, it's private.
Yeah. And how it utilizes the election apparatus, the same election apparatus that we use to put people in government. Okay, we're using that same apparatus to put people in this private organization that eventually takes over and runs and has run government here, even when the Republicans held the major offices here. You know, I just find I think that says that I think there's a message in that somewhere. I don't know exactly what that message is. Maybe the message is looking at the power and how long Madigan has been there and running things. I really don't know, but I see something wrong with it. I really do.
I hear you on Madigan, but there's a lot of stuff that people don't like about the Democratic Party that the Democratic Party would do the exact same way if Madigan wasn't a player. That, I mean, they're dancing to the tune called by the rich and powerful people who run the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois and the government of the United States and the corporations and banks that run the whole world. Madigan is a creature that exists in the system. He's good at manipulating the system. He's taking advantage of the system, and some of the stuff that he does probably shouldn't be legal. But I mean, there's a lot of things about the way the state of Illinois is designed that creating a little bit of corruption is part of the deal. That one of the things I like to point out about the state of Illinois is the reason we exist is we're basically connecting the Mississippi River system and the Great Lakes system. So we've got a culture of middlemen skimming from the beginning. I mean,
That's basically it, huh? Well, okay, we got 2 minutes left here, Carl, and I'm going to ask this question in 2 minutes. Give me your answer. Okay.
Practice
what's
shorter
needed
answers.
to get the state, the county, and the city moving in the right direction? And I guess what we'd have to know is, what is the right direction?
Well, my view is that we should aspire to exist in a society where the people get treated with respect by the institutions that exist in the society, and the people can trust those institutions to do their primary job without, taking advantage of people on the back end or in some secretive way. And we've got to make people in power accountable, and we've got to tax the rich.
How do we do it?
We've got to organize. I mean, there's no shortcut. I mean, it'd be nice if we could go in the backyard and build a guillotine and then just start announcing that we're going to start lopping the heads off of people who are rich and powerful. But that's not going to happen, probably.
Yeah, probably not. Carl Nyberg, I appreciate you coming in. We're going to have to get you back. I promised Aaron Goldstein that I was going to get him. Maybe I'll get you guys in here.
Aaron is awesome.
Yes,
he's going to be a great attorney general for the state of Illinois.
Yes, he is. He really is. Thanks so much for coming in. All right. Thank you all for tuning in to another edition of Policy Matters on IntellectualRadio.com. Again, I'm Jerry Brown. We'll be back next week with another riveting show. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you.